Check. We got good mic. We got good sound.
I hear you.
I hear you loud and clear.
When we kind of hatched this idea, we wanted to sort of uncover stories about people, not necessarily photographers or painters or true artists, but artists in their own right, in their own field. I think ultimately we would like to almost make this a turnkey podcast in a way where we could set up the framework for people to work within and then source good stories and let them tell their own story. Ultimately,
I think we feel comfortable doing our first episode together.
Yeah, and we're kind of doing this as a proof of concept too.
Exactly. This is kind of like our pitch to the world. We have the equipment and we would just want to like showcase other stories in Madison. And so I like your idea of having a couple episodes where maybe we're helping out, we're curating, we're producing, but also letting other people host. I think that's a cool thing about this journey is there's a lot of people out there that also want to do what we're doing. We just want to provide that foundation for them.
And we don't even have a name for this yet.
We don't, but we'll try to figure out something. I feel like the nature is going to play a role into this name dive. So the goal out of this, are we calling this a pilot? Are we calling this a test?
I would say this is a pilot at least.
This is the pilot.
If not first
So
episode.
the pilot, we told ourselves that we want to come up with the name on the spot. And we'll kind of dive deeper into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of the goal with this is just kind of lay down the format of who we are, kind of build structure around like the episodes. We want them to be short and sweet. I was kind of considering like a commuter podcast where either you're biking to work, you're driving to work, or you're just kind of making coffee, getting ready to work at home.
Yeah, I don't know the year. Let's see, it's 2021. I think we met just about 2015 sound right. It wasn't an Instagram photo walk. It wasn't a meetup. It was another creative event at a hotel called The Graduate. And I was talking with another photographer and I mentioned I wanted to get into film a little bit in production, and then he brought up your name, and I think we pretty much just kind of we've stayed in touch. This is our first creative endeavor. We've done a few things, like we messed around with like cameras and stuff, but this is our first creative endeavor. So it's let's just say we've known each other for 6 years, which is amazing. And here we are now, finally actually, making something.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out Josh Haraldson. Josh was the connector. Josh was actually a big influence in my photography career. He would organize these Instagram meetups, and it just brought in maybe 10 to 15 other photographers. We'd all meet at a location and then just go for a walk. And it was just so fun to see like portrait photographers, landscape photographers, and then people just starting to get into photography.
From a creator standpoint, you might have relationships like this where there's sort of you're kind of flirting with actually getting something done. But the thing is like to stick with it. I mean, it took us 6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So keep communicating with people you admire, somebody you want to work with. Send them an email or a text message every now and then. Keep the fire going a little bit. Meet them for coffee, and when the time is right, it'll happen.
Cool. I think that kind of lays the foundation. Maybe do we want to talk about like how we're going to roll it out quick?
You're going to spearhead the Spotify.
Yes. We're coming together as like a collective name. So we're going to be releasing nice little teaser videos and audio bites on our social media. So I think just using social media in the beginning of the week, we're going to tease some stories that way. And then I think the goal is to kind of release the full episode like on a Friday. That's kind of like the formula. We just really kind of want to record our episodes, chop them up, edit them day of, and then just prepare them throughout the week so we have stuff to promote and talk about. Because back in the day, I used to have a concert to go to and promote every week, and now it's just like I want to promote stories. I want to promote creatives in the local Madison area and hopefully beyond.
Right. Exactly.
Let's get to know you.
All right. Adam Senatori from Michigan originally. My dad moved here when I was 5. He's an art director. He took a job as an art director here in Madison, and he worked that job. He still works it actually, but I grew up in a super artistic household. Obviously with my dad being an art director, my mom was real big into art history, so as a youngster we were in and out of museums all the time. After school she'd pick us up and we'd go to art museums and weekend trips down to Chicago and check out Monet, and it's pretty cool to learn about pointillism when you're like 7, So anyway, fast forward a bit, went to the UW here. Always had this like burning desire to be a pilot. So, I mean, since like I was probably 5 or 6 years old, I wanted to be a pilot. So I went to college, just got a degree in behavioral science and law, which had nothing to do with aviation. But as soon as I got my diploma, I packed my stuff and went to Florida and got all my pilot ratings in like 9 months, up to a flight instructor. flight instructed for a while down in Janesville, and next thing you know it, I was an airline pilot. I was like 22, 23, 24, somewhere around there as an airline pilot. Things were going good until 9/11 hit. And that really disrupted, well, everything, but it disrupted the airline industry in particular. I hung on to that job a little bit longer than I should have. I hung on until 2005. So, 4 years too long. It was kind of insufferable working in that industry. And so I left voluntarily, didn't know what to do, and kind of just fell back into my creative instincts, and had a little help from my dad, but for the most part just started shooting real small projects, local magazines, and then worked my way up through the next 3 or 4 years to the point where I was actually starting to get aviation related clients. And I ultimately ended up working for like the big airlines and aerospace manufacturing companies, shooting content for them, digital content. And coincidentally, this is right about when social media started getting big, 2011, Instagram started getting big. So I was able to sort of parlay my aviation background into the creative endeavors and shooting content for these big companies all around the world, and it was a lot of fun. Fast forward a little bit to 2016, I was in Dubai shooting content on this Boeing 747, this huge thing, brand new plane, and I was sitting in the cockpit, and a writer I was working with, he took a picture of me in the seat of this brand new plane, and I sent it back to my wife, and she goes, yeah, you're going to be a pilot again, aren't you? Because I guess I just had some look in my face. So oddly enough, in 2017, I went back to the airlines. So I had, let's just say from 2005 to 2016 or 17, like a really good creative career. Lots of different experiences, huge clients. For whatever reason, I felt like I had the skills. There's no reason I shouldn't be flying these planes. So I went back, did that for 2 years, and then guess what? Pandemic. So, and as soon as the pandemic went down, I knew it was going to be tough on the industry, and I knew that I didn't want to linger any longer. So I pulled out of that last fall in 2020, and here I am back being a creative. And it's weird being back here in this world, because I basically took 3 years off. I emailed all my clients when I went back to the airlines and said I'm going to be out of pocket for a little bit, and a lot of them got back to me and they're like, well, how long? I'm like, could be up to 30 years. So I kind of pieced out. I did a few jobs, but for the most part, I had to dive all the way into being a pilot. It's so demanding that there's like no room for creativity. I do stuff on overnights and meet up with people that I know through Instagram, and we do stuff, but like to do creative full time was not in the cards. So anyway, the pandemic hit, and I bounced out of the industry for the second time. Who quits a career twice, the same career twice? Not too many people, but weird circumstances. 9/11 and the pandemic. It's like, okay, I got a signal, and I'm just going to be a creative till I die. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at now. It's an interesting time to get back into the game. It's different than when I left in 2017. Social media is different. NFTs have completely turned the artistic world upside down. Like right now, I don't even know where to start. I'm so lost creatively that I feel like I'm starting fresh, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time, because like the landscape is different. My approach to everything has to be different. Skill sets have to be different. And the key thing is like, I do not want to get stuck chasing what's popular. Like right now, NFTs are huge, and though artists that are having success, I'm so happy for them, because up until now, they have been toiling away like literally unknown, and now they're making millions of dollars on their work. I feel like the pandemic has just like, and NFTs have just literally taken everything and put it in like a martini shaker and shaken it up, and now everything's different. So there's lots of opportunities, but you have to be willing to, any preconceptions you have about who you were as an artist, put that aside and just start fresh. And that's what I'm doing right now. So kind of a long-winded story, but that's where I am sitting in this chair, a confused artist, but excited.
You told me back in the day you were on Flickr, and then you switched to Instagram.
Right.
What year was that?
2011, early 2011 or late 2010. I think Instagram launched in like the mid part of 2010, and I wasn't like right on it, but I was close. Somewhere out there, I think my user number is like 54,000. I mean, which is nuts. I mean, I don't know how many people are on that platform now, but so I was definitely an early adopter, and a whole bunch of us came over from Flickr. I knew a lot of other photographers from Flickr that joined too. So, and I'm still friends with them. So it's pretty cool. I enjoyed Flickr, but Instagram was just new.
Yeah.
You know?
What did you like about Instagram? What was like attractive to Instagram in 2011?
Well, one, how clean the interface was. It was simple. It forced you to be just a photo and a simple caption. That was it. And I think it was square even. And just the ability to be able to share something beyond Flickr. There wasn't, I can't remember, SmugMug. There might have been a few other little platforms, but it was small. I just really loved it.
What camera do you shoot with now?
My phone. I have no equipment right now. I go through weird phases. I'll have like, I'll just like, just mass spend and just binge on gear, and then I'll flush it all out. I'm actually pretty good. I've been an eBayer for a long time, since like 2000. So I'm really good at like figuring out markets. And like my last camera was a 1DX Mark II, the nice one. And I was like, I knew there was stuff on the horizon and I wasn't using it. So I sold it on eBay for good money. So right now I have no gear other than my phone, but I mean, that's going to end shortly because I've plans.
Do you want to do a little shout out to your phone?
Okay, so I'm working on a campaign for OnePlus. They reached out, and the ad agency that's handling their account reached out in like late winter, like February, and they're like, hey, we love your landscape photography that we've seen on Instagram. We have a new phone that's going to launch, and it's not real well known in the United States. We're basically, enlisting a lot of photographers from different sort of backgrounds to use this phone for about half a year, and post on Instagram and give feedback and all that. So yeah, it's a OnePlus. I don't have it on me right now, but it's a great phone. It's co-developed with Hasselblad. Hasselblad didn't do any of the hardware on it. All they did was the color science, which I'm like more excited about, because the two companies, OnePlus and Hasselblad, got together, and instead of trying to like, mash some Hasselblad piece of equipment on it, they're like, well, let's actually just dial in the color science. So the campaign I'm working on is called True Colors, and I've used it for like 3 months so far, 2 months, and it's really nice. You can shoot RAW, so I shoot RAW on it, and then I have Lightroom Mobile, so I do all the RAW edits right on the phone, and then it's good to go. So it's a great phone. But other than that, my daily driver is like a 4-year-old iPhone, so old iPhone.
Yeah, I feel like ever since I've met you, it's just like quick and go. Let's create, let's post, let's keep going. So I like your style. I definitely, as a creative, as a photographer, as a videographer, you kind of get a little like gear hungry, and you just want all the best gear, and you're just spending your money. So I'm super stoked that you're like, I'm just on a phone right now.
It's good. Yeah. But on the flip side is, look at all the gear we have. We have 2 cameras, 2 mics, all this. And it's like, this is definitely a heavy lift, right? But it's also,
it's kind of necessary for this.
And it's awesome. Yeah. It's so awesome. So generally speaking though, I like to move light. I feel like when I have more stuff, I'm less creative. Like I did a little thing in Milwaukee yesterday, I had a tripod and some other stuff, and it was like, I felt like, I don't know. It's so much easier to go pull a phone out of your pocket, compose, shoot, and move on. Or if you have a camera, on a DSLR on your shoulder, it's just so much easier, and keep it light. I don't even like carrying like a little bag. Just like, I literally like having my phone on me. Yeah.
On your website, I was reading that you state that you create purpose-driven visual designs. Can you describe that?
When I work with clients, or I mean, not even just clients, anybody outside of myself, I think the first thing that I do is kind of just interview them. Get a good idea of what exactly they're looking for. A lot of times clients come to you and they don't know what they want. Like, what is your purpose? What do you want to get out of this creative endeavor? So I will have I got a stack of A4 card paper, and I'll sit here and just take notes and write, and basically just depose them, and really peel back, like, what exactly are we looking for? What's your purpose? What do you want to do? What message do you want to get out there? And really hone in on just that, instead of sort of, we'll just do whatever. I really want to get down to what's driving the person across the table for me, right? That helps me creatively, because then I can set aside all the distractions and not get pulled in the wrong direction. So that's where I just get the purpose driven from, is like, we're going to spend a lot of time figuring out what you need before we do anything with gear. So Instagram is kind of funny, because like, I don't like that term famous. I'm definitely not famous, and I'm not any more talented than anybody else. I just got into the game early on, right? And I was a suggested user for like 3 or 4 years. So if you went to the app, my name popped up. Now, I got there because I was somewhat unique. I was doing stuff that no one else was doing. I was doing aerials. That's how I really got big on Instagram, as I was doing aerials way before drones. So I think the story here is, think outside the box. Don't do what you see. Just think of something different. I mean, I was literally, I had my phone on the outside of the airplane. I hate to admit it, but it was like I had like an automotive suction mount and my phone was out there, and I was triggering it with, you used to be able to like plug headphones in and push the volume up button and it would trigger the, so I mean, that's how I kind of got big on Instagram, by doing weird shit like that. Like I just, no one, this is way before DJI was even a company, right? In 2010, there were probably military drones, but there's no commercial drones. So, you know, and I just, I'm a pilot, so I would open the window and I probably flew over this spot hundreds of times, just taking photos of these hills. If you scroll back my Instagram feed, you probably see a lot of these hills behind us on my, you know, on my Instagram feed made with that phone. So story is, do your thing. Do not chase. Don't chase metrics. I have a lot of followers, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, that literally does not mean anything. I mean, I don't have a lot of engagement anymore. Everything just sort of tapers off. It's going to happen. It's just natural, right? If you're on any platform for 12 years, everything's going to taper off. So it doesn't mean anything. So stay true to yourself and just don't chase. Don't chase. How many times have I said that in this podcast? Like, I'm resisting chasing into NFTs and doing all this and changing how I do things. No, just step back, do what you do. And that's how you get noticed, right? Yep. Build it first and then they're going to come. And it takes a long time. This is a long game. This is a very long game. Nothing comes overnight.
Where are you at today? We're in 2021. It's May.
Right. Yeah. So all of last year, I was actually furloughed from the airline, so I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do. So up until 2016, I was primarily a photographer, but I'm good at drawing. I'm just good creative in general. I just happen to make my living as a photographer up until 2016. So last year when I was on furlough, I had all this time to think about retooling what I wanted to do after I left the airlines. So I'm basically just a studio now. And I alluded to this in the first part of the podcast, like, I don't really know what to call myself because, you know, when I'm like, you know, if you come up with a caption on Twitter or whatever, or a bio on Twitter or Instagram, like, what am I? I've kind of settled on multidisciplinary artist. Now, that's sort of an umbrella term, and when someone tells me that, I'm thinking, okay, they're a sculptor and a painter and some more of like actual hands-on art, but I really am a multidisciplinary artist because I'm good shooting. I can shoot video, I can shoot photos, I can do GIFs, I can do logos. I mean, really kind of just anything. And so I've positioned my studio myself. I'm just a one person studio, kind of like, I want to be open to projects that interest me and that I'm really behind, and I can offer any of these skill sets, right? And if I don't have the skill set, then I know somebody like you, like you're good with web and a lot of other things that I can't even do. All this audio, no idea. If someone approaches me, then I know I can go to you. So I'm kind of like, sort of either I can feel really good and I'm really amped to do it, or I can use myself as a conduit and loop you in on things like this. You know what I'm saying? So trying just to be sort of like this, not a super niche company studio, but sort of like feel good enough to do, like, make cool looking visuals. I mean, if you can put that on a business card, like, I want to make cool visuals. I don't care whether it's in 4K, 5K, or analog film, whatever, you know. So that's where I want to go forward. And that way I feel like I'm a little bit more open to whatever comes. If some cool project comes, then I don't have to be like, oh, I'm only a photographer, I can't do that. So I'm keeping it very open, and that's how I want to go into the future, because there's so many things that we don't even know about yet that I don't want to be excluded from. I want to be able to stay on top of it. Yep. So kind of a weird answer, but I've settled on sort of just like multidisciplinary artist, open to do anything, will make cool visuals.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll check back in 6 months to a year.
Yeah, see how it's going.
Yeah. So sweet.
Yeah.
So I know you've done a handful of interviews before, podcasts. Maybe this is your first podcast, or
we'll call this like fourth or fifth.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is just an open question here, but like, I know that you've been asked a lot of questions and you've been interviewed a handful of times throughout your life. Is there anything that you'd also like want to touch on or like share with our audience today?
Oh man. It's such an interesting time. I mean, I know what I'm going through as an artist it's hard to tell through social media and the friends you have. But I'm sure other people are struggling too. Maybe they haven't switched careers and maybe they're already at different places. We're all at different places, but the struggle is real. I mean, like, just trying to move forward and be relevant. You know, it's real. So I get a lot of DMs on my Instagram about sort of people, they feel like they've lost direction, and I have too. I mean, I don't have the answers. All I know is that I'm able to go back into like the core and let that drive me, and I don't have a plan. I just kind of just go, and follow sort of what I feel is right inside. Like, this is a perfect example. Like we mentioned earlier, this is 6 years in the making, and now is the time that we chose all these paths to get here. So that's kind of like a message that is like my big 2021 message, is just drill deep down and don't be afraid to throw everything you've done in the past overboard and look at this landscape ahead of us that is now completely overturned. All the old establishments are falling apart. There's a lot more opportunity there's opportunities that you just don't think are there, but they are, because everything is just completely flipped upside down right now. So there's a lot of optimism is my outgoing message here.
I love it.
Yeah.
One more statement that I loved that you said today. We were climbing up this hill with a bunch of gear.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you said to me at the top?
Yeah. I said, pain is temporary, glory is forever.
I love that.
Yeah. Right? I mean, we were in a lot of pain bringing this stuff up.
We've gone through a lot of pain throughout life. We've gone through a lot of pain in the last year.
That's right.
But dude, yeah.
But your actions, they last forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sweet. I feel good about that section. We can kind of flip the cameras quick.
Yeah, sure. So, cool.
Sweet. It is like coming out of it, dude. It's so crazy.
I know. Back to reality. Well, let's turn the tables a little bit, right?
My name is Scott Kunkel, aka Scottify. One thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that my first name is James. So it is kind of funny where it's like Scott, Scottify, everything, but it is kind of fun to turn the tables and be like, that's not who I am. Just in general, like photography and visual storytelling has always been a part of my life. All of a sudden, these moments of photography where I'm just capturing these like massive photos of the band and the crowd just going insane, I just like fell in love with it. It was definitely energizing to my creativity. So the third day of me living in Madison, I was shooting my first concert in a pit.
That's awesome.
And it was live on King Street. It was right outside Majestic. So Majestic Theater would host this free outdoor concert series all throughout the summer. I had no idea what it was.
On the street, right?
On the street.
Yeah.
And so it was just the biggest thing I've done. I just loved concerts. I loved going to shows. I loved supporting musicians. And just having a camera along, I got in for free. A lot of people wanted to chat afterwards, and then eventually you start getting paid to shoot shows. So I was shooting for Majestic, and then it turned into shooting for the Orpheum. And then eventually I started hanging out with bands. And it was just such a cool moment when bands started inviting me over to like their practice just to like hang out and like capture some photos, and then using those photos on social media to promote their show. And I was like, this is a cool system. I like that I get to hang out with people that are creating art. So yeah, definitely just like fell in love with the whole like concert photography world for a while, and definitely like loved the video production. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I do both? After graduating college, I was trying to figure out like, do I go work for an ad agency? Do I go do my own thing? Do I just move from Madison? I was really trying to figure that out. And after graduating Madison Media, I was interviewing at a few agencies, and I was like, I'm not vibing with their culture. I'm not like super into like the clients that they work for. And I think what you were talking about is just creating with a purpose, creating content for people that you care about and like what their mission is. And so, yeah, that was a big thing for me, where it's just, I want to work with people that I care about. And so I freelanced like right off the gate, and I technically have been freelancing for the last 7 years, which is pretty wild. And then I also just love like helping startups. I love helping small businesses, just capturing their story and sharing it on their website and letting them have content to work with on social media. So throughout the process of like just being a photographer, just being a videographer, kind of created Scottify Studios to kind of be a little bit bigger beyond me. So I'm in the same boat of like, I do a lot. What's this umbrella of like who you are? Going back to my concert days, Scottify was a nickname. Scottify was a watermark and an Instagram handle. I just ran with it and had fun with it. Everyone started calling me Scottify, where it's Scott is my name, and then Phi means to create. So it just kind of had this synergy come together where I was like, this is cool. And then the concerts and like the promoters loved it because it was just like music focused. So I kind of just ran with it. But when I started my own company, I wanted to just get away from it. I didn't know if this is like my identity that I want to like build with and like have a whole like business platform based on it. But as I was kind of like coming up with new names, everyone's just like, wait, like you're Spotify. And I was like, okay, I can't get away from this. So I stuck with it and ran with it. Our mission is to collaborate forever. It's just a fun hashtag that started back in the day with one of my other good creative friends. And just like, it's a good energy to have behind like creating art because it's not all about you and it's not always created and developed by you. So Spotify Studios is a collective of collaborators. I wanted to start something that was like a foundation for me to support my life off of, but it's just kind of grown into something a little bit more beautiful than that. So yeah, it's cool. It's a journey. Yeah, I guess that's a little bit of an origin story about me.
How did the pandemic affect you? I know that we've discussed, I think you made some changes, right, to the studio?
So thinking about 2020, January 2020, we were projecting to have the biggest year, doing a lot of event videography work. So we were flying out to DC, filming, and then we also had just a bunch of clients that we were working with on a regular basis, monthly. And so we just had a lot of things in motion. And then within like a month or two, things kind of started to like reveal like this is going to affect us. This is going to affect our economy. Things are going to close down. So it was very scary. And obviously not just for myself, like for everybody. There's other people that are employing hundreds of people. What are they going to do? So it was just a crazy mindset to be in. But yeah, in March 2020, it was a very scary thing. I thought we were going to lose all of our clients. I thought everything was going to go completely like dark and I was going to be at zero. So the creativity was like kind of in limbo of what do I do? And so I definitely pivoted services during the pandemic. We were creating a lot of video content, a lot of photography content. I'm a lifestyle photographer, so I like creating scenarios and capturing content within that. So that stopped, but then we started building websites. And so I started on Squarespace. It was a great platform for myself to build my portfolio site on. And then I just loved the process that I started pitching it to other businesses, being like, this is a simple website. Obviously there's WordPress, but then you're gonna have to work with a designer and a developer and stuff. And so I just felt like, let's create a product that's also usable by the owner. And so I just love Squarespace. So we were using that for a while, but then Shopify became super hot because in March, all of these brick and mortar businesses were not making any money. And so a lot of people needed to switch to online. So another big thing was developing a bunch of online stores for local businesses. One of my favorite ones was downtown on State Street. It's been in business for over 40 years. Jazzman had never been online. And it was just a cool moment to like bring them to an online platform and to have that virtual experience to be able to shop and view the product any time of the day. So yeah, it's been a lot of web this last year. My photography and the video within a website, that sells. And so it lets me think beyond just the photography and the video, where how is the customer and how is the individual going to experience like your brand and your story through photography, through video, and just how it's displayed. It's a beautiful world. Web design is a little bit easier nowadays. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's definitely easier.
So I feel like you've, that's a good pivot, right? So if it were not for the pandemic, you probably would have not, gone down the road.
We definitely wouldn't be with Wix.
Okay.
Right now, if you would have asked me, like, what do you think about Wix in May 2020, I would have said...
Shrug your shoulders?
Yeah, I just like, I'm not going to work with them. I like Squarespace.
Right.
But, dude, Wix is crushing it. They are now a competitor with WordPress. And so it's just so cool to work with these softwares and these companies that are truly, like, expanding and developing for the masses and for the people. Definitely a big promoter of Wix, big promoter of Shopify. Those are our platforms that we like to develop on right now.
Nice. That's a good pivot. Or it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. You've kind of future-proofed yourself, the studio, a little bit.
Yeah, because like for me, it's just I'll build a website out throughout the month, but then I'll get like 3 to 4 video or photo projects. So yeah, it just mixes up the month. It makes it fun. I think that was the goal, is just to have fun with it. I don't want to get stuck in just doing product photography, but I'll do that once a month. And then I like doing the lifestyle stuff, and things are opening back up now. So hopefully we can kind of get back into the events. I love just like capturing events. I love weddings, I love concerts, and I love just planning events.
Yeah, I got to say, just a little bit of a sidebar, your concert stuff is so good. It's like, go check them out. You don't have to scroll down too far, right, on your Instagram to see.
It's definitely not as much now, but
yeah, but I like the atmospheric shots you get, like where you actually you're very good at capturing the entire environment. Like it's amazing. So and you're so strong with your colors. Yeah, scroll down.
Thank you.
Check out your work.
Concert photography is probably one of the hardest types of photography. I like to say beautiful chaos is a concert. It's like a trade-off where there are challenging moments to capture those photos, but they are lighting the subject
really well.
really well. It's just capturing the motion of them. There's a lot of things on stage, and so I like to say like I'm a sniper. I'm really trying to figure out a frame, and like there's a couple photographers that were just capturing beautiful images, and you just know it's a crazy show, but it was like so peaceful and beautiful, and it was framed, and I was like, I need to get better at that. And so that was like the big thing was just, all right, obviously I can take a photo of like a room, but now how do I take a photo and frame the subject with fans, with lights? And so it just became a game. And so every time I went to a venue, it was always new. It was always fresh. And so I think that was fun. It was like never got old. You could always perfect the photo.
Trying to think of some other things. I mean, the one thing that stuck out to me is that would you call this your tagline, collaborate forever? Because it just sticks.
Yeah, I definitely think I would call collaborate forever our tagline. It's a fun story. So one of my best friends in Eau Claire is also a photographer, Kyle Layman. You should check him out.
Concert?
He does concerts, but he does everything. It's so cool. Like his food photography is like top notch too. The dude takes like the rawest photos at like metal shows, and then we'll just take like the most beautiful photo of like a plate of food. But yeah, Kyle and I were chatting before I moved to Madison. I was moving away from my hometown. It was just a big leap for me to like go and pursue like art in a different city. And we just had a great heart to heart. And we were chatting about like creativity and like where Eau Claire is right now. And so I was really excited about my move, and I knew that he was still going to thrive and do really well in Eau Claire. And so it was just a cool moment of like, hey, like this is kind of like our last time like hanging out before I go off to college and do all this stuff, and like what I'm doing, but I want to collaborate, and I want to collaborate forever. And he's like, that's it. Collaborate forever is just something that it isn't just about you. And so there's moments where it just takes a lot. It takes a team to start a project and to grow a project. And I just like kind of having an open door for individuals that like want to like pursue that. So
there's been a lot of things until you actually sit down and think about them. How much has changed? You know what I'm saying? Your studio alone has made some big changes. You're mobile and nimble now. You wouldn't have been, right?
The pandemic definitely made us think virtually. And how can I support myself without leaving my house? And it was just a beautiful thing where people can ship me hard drives and I can edit video from my house, and then developing websites and still creating business for other people. And so, yeah, with the pandemic just made me want to feel like I'm not locked down and I'm able to still support myself financially.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is like Madison, geographically, is such a great location. I mean, 2 hours to the parking lot at O'Hare, you can go any corner of the world. So, because a lot of people, I've always kind of torn with like, oh, should I be on the coast? Like, I'm never going to be. I'm set here. Like, I'm not uprooting and going anywhere. But I don't really think that we're at a disadvantage being out here. Do you?
I like that you brought that up, because I definitely felt as a creative, as a videographer, I'm supposed to move to LA, Chicago, New York. I've been able to make it work in Madison, and it's just so cool how, as a creative, I would like to say I'm successful in the Midwest. But like when you're on the road, every opportunity is a good photo.
Exactly.
There's a story everywhere. So I kind of miss that, and I want to get back to that. And so that's like the idea of being more nimble and being more swift.
Right.
This podcast is a foundation for creatives. It's not just us. We're going to be here right now and we want to create together. But in a year or two, I could be doing some episodes on the road. You could still be in Madison, but you could also be on the road. So I just love that idea of coming together and just kind of creating a foundation for creatives and just people that like want to get inspired by this platform and just other platforms in general. If you can figure out what you like to do and you're excited to wake up every day, money will come, clients will come, but you just got to figure out like what you want to do. And I always just was wanting to edit video. I loved going on trips. I loved going on like vacations and then coming back and making an edit, That's what I should pursue. So if anyone's listening, just if you're trying to figure out like what you want to do in life, figure out like what you're doing for fun, and then try to figure out how you can like relay that. If you like to travel, learn how to book trips for people, learn how to provide a service.
And projecting yourself, like role play 10 years down the road, like, is this something that I'm going to be comfortable doing in 10 years, 5 years, 25 years? You know, that's why I mentioned earlier, is like, I'm going to be a creative till I die. Right. So, and I don't need to, like, I wake up every morning ready to go. I do it most of the year. I work for myself, just diving into After Effects and working with things. So pick something that you're never going to get tired of waking up for.
You're not going to wake up the next day and be the best photographer. You're not going to be the best guitarist. It takes time and it takes practice. So you got to start somewhere. And yeah, I had a camera in high school. I didn't know what I was doing. I was using auto exposure, autofocus. I like to shoot in manual. I want to like have that challenge. But you don't need to challenge yourself right off the gate. Take it in steps. Go slow. But if you love it, stick with it. And it's a journey. During the pandemic, this whole bedroom podcast idea came about. I bought all this gear, got way too nervous to start a podcast. So I wanted to do it, but it's just like, it's an undertaking, but it's also like, it's just like it's a new realm. It's a new journey. So I'm excited to jump in this realm with you. And
yeah, it's great.
Let's meet some cool new people.
For sure. Yeah. What a good way to start it off.
Yeah. So.
All right.
We'll sign out there. This has been Scott.
Adam.
And we'll catch you on the next episode.